Relational Databases. Another free lesson to help you become a better coder. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Your continued support helps making these videos possible. And as always, I thank you all for your continued support. Let's get started. In this video, I want to talk about the data relationship. And these relationships were brought about from the relational database concept. The idea is to avoid record redundancy and that the table must be in the first normalized form. And I will share with you what a normalized form is later on. Just keep in mind there are relationships in each table that you have in the database. And these relationships are one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, many-to-many relationship. The one-to-one relationship, the related tables must have the same primary key, and that's how we identify these one-to-one relationship. And these records in these related tables cannot be repeated. So that's how we identify the one-to-one relationship. The one-to-many relationship, there is a relation that references one record in one table to many records in related tables. We can think of this one-to-many relationship as a parent-child relationship. Now the many-to-many relationship, this relation references many records in the table to many records in related tables. And this is not very hard to understand once you see the records in the table. There are three of these types of relationships. And all good programmers have a keen understanding of data relationship. And you too, if you want to be a good and successful database developer and programmer, you need to understand the relational database. With that said, let's open up the application and take a look at it. So before I open up the database to talk about the relationship in the database, that way we can see how they look. What I want to do is to share one thing in database development, and that is data normalization. Data normalization. I don't want to go too deep into this, but the idea is that the data must be normalized to their first normalized form, meaning it must be unique. Each row and each record must be unique. And I'm trying to see if I can find the verbiage and text talk about the data normalization. Let's see this guy. Basically, all it says that the table must be normalized, meaning there are no dirty records in the table. All right. Let's see what this guy says. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to go too deep into it, and that's why I don't want to type and write, because many people have written about this. All right, and what the first normalized form, it just means that each record must be unique. That's basically what it is, and that uniqueness has to do with the ID. All right, primary key. Like I said, oh, there you go. So this is what we want to focus on. All right. That's what we want to focus on, the first normalized form, as I briefly mentioned earlier in the video. And I will show you this through the CMS that we have been developing. Just keep in mind that when you code, you want to turn your table into a normalized form. Alright, and then here goes second, third, fourth, and fifth, and seventh, and whatever. It could be lengthy. And you might ask, how could it be so many forms? Third form and fourth form and fifth form? Well, in the old days, we have tons of columns of data fields in the table, unnormalized, meaning they just pack things into it regardless. Alright, so I will show you what a dirty form is, or unnormalized form. And yeah, but right now just keep in mind that all your table must be in the first normal form, and that's all you need to keep in mind. And that first normal form means each record must be unique, and that's it. Alright, and the second, the same way, you're just looking for, is there anything else that are repeated, and then you separate them out, and you continue on and on and on if you have more records, more columns. Alright, so but I'll go ahead and close this out since I've talked about the first normalized form. Now let's take a look at let's see, let's go to this guy that I have done just a little bit before we open up the database to look at how they are joined. So here is the order that we created through the CMS, through our CMS. Here we're looking at the unnormalized form. Alright, meaning with the untrained eye or a new to database programming, that will put all these records, this information into a single table like this. I extracted this from there. This is unnormalized. Alright, you see there's no ID, but they have repeated items. Alright, so anytime you have a repeated item in the table, it is not unique, it's bad. Alright, this is not in the first normal form. Okay, but you can tell, alright, when it comes to here, you notice, well, if you extract this out, for example, to make this guy a first normal form, you would only have one record there. You see there? You would only have one record there, and then you would call that company table, or company table. Yeah, company table. And if you move on down, you notice there's something in here if you keep going. So for example, if I just move this guy, you know what, let me do this. I'll show you quickly. Just show you, I'm gonna copy that and add this guy into here. Remove this guy. Yep, remove this guy and make that guy a table. So I'm going to delete that guy. See, now we move that we remove this guy, all right, up to logo, and that becomes a table for company. All right, as a matter of fact, I can do this, copy. So that's a table because they are repeated record. All right, and I can remove this guy or add another one, another key. Remember, each table must have a unique ID, and that's why you see a database when you create a database, it automatically added a database. We can call that ID 1 and get rid of this, and that becomes 1. That is unique. Alright, so that is the first normalized form. Alright, because there are no repeated items in here. We remove the repeated items, and that's what it's for. So here is a complete first normalized form. Alright, and if you remove things further down, you can see, well, okay, I've got transaction ID here. These are all repeated like so. Alright, so I am going to now remove this guy, copy, and add this guy to it because they are repeated, you see, and add a column to it, which is an ID. Call that an ID. Let's give that an ID of 1, and we remove the repeated items. That too becomes a first normalized form. See there? And so that's what you would do on and on from these dirty records. Alright? From these dirty records, you continue pulling out the repeated items. Alright? And then make it a first normalized form. Right? So here we got a table named employee. Right? That is unique because there's no repeated items. And then we can continue with so we remove that guy, so I'll go ahead and delete that one. Now we are left with the order ID, the transaction number, the order number, and the date and line. And so here is where we have composite. We call that a composite ID, transaction and order, date. So here too becomes a one table. Alright, a one table. So you remove that and make that a first normalized form. Alright, as you remove this, you can narrow down to a very single item. Alright, and here if we remove those three guys, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that guy. Now you're left with order details, meaning each one of these records is unique, you see. And we just got lucky because the line number is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But normally you would have an ID for this guy, ID for this guy being 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that's how that works. Alright, now with that said, let's go. I'm going to open up the database that we've been doing. Alright, just remember that the unnormalized form have repeated records, just like this one that I extracted from the order receipt. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close that one, and let's go see how I go about creating these guys. Let's take a look at the first. Let's take a look at the very first video that we did. Here, this is the very first video that we did. So this is the first video that we did. All right, and if we look in here, we have one item, just like that. All right. Only one ID, no relationship. Each records in here are unique. See this number, customer ID, this is unique. Alright, we call this first normalized form. And currently there's no other table to create relationship. Alright, so this is how you code, is that each one of these records, there should not be any repeated items in here. And if you look at the number, the name, or the and then here you can extract that back to, you can create another table called salutation table, and then you can do that, and that in itself becomes different. For instance, I'm gonna extract this out. If I want to normalize this one, I want to extract this out, salutation, because I see repeated items in here. Alright, so how would I do that? So I would do this. Alright, but you could do this, we call salutation ID, and I'm just gonna do auto number, and then salutation name, and save that as, make that a primary, just to demonstrate what, how I would go about creating this guy is called salutation. And in here I can just add Mr., Miss, Mrs., Doctor, whatever. Alright, so this would be a normalized form, or first normalized form for salutation. And then you would have to link this guy to this table, and this would become an ID. Alright, but because it's so blank that I didn't need to, I just start typing in, plug in, put in the text, and that's why I didn't do that. But you could do this, you could pull this out and put it in here, salutation, see there, and then you would have to create a relationship, so that becomes a parent, because each one of these guys, see, Mr., can belong to as many customer or contact as they want. Alright, and we call this a parent, and we call this children. Okay, I didn't go through that, I didn't do that because it's just a single text. Alright, but in a normalized form you would want to do that. Alright, so you could really get into trouble if you think too much. Alright, if it's not going to affect the performance of the database, you can just do like that. Alright, so but the rest of these, you can see there are no repeated items. You see, no repeated items. Alright, so you can call this guy a second normalized form because of these guys. You have to pull that out to make it, then you have to create a relationship table to this. So, and that's how we create table. Alright, now I'm going to close this very first table that we create and look at the very last table, or very last, the latest application. So in here we have done a lot. We have come up from just one single customer table into so many in here. Alright, and here I want to show you the relationship that we've done. Alright, how we build this relationship. And I think the good one to look at is the order receipt that we did. You see there, you can see the relation here. So how did I come up with this without even drawing a diagram? That comes with experience, and know what I need to do when I create these tables. Alright, and that's where I want to share with you, is that when you create table, first you have to be thoughtful. Alright, first you would have to be thoughtful and try to put them to the right order as you build. Alright, so, and that's that is the key, is that when I put this together, I know what has to happen first, and as I go about doing it, I identify, okay, would the next table have any relationship to this previous table I just create? Alright? And so when we look at this, we see there are one-to-one relationship here. There are one-to-one relationship. Each order payment belongs to this order. And if we open this guy up, we would see the final total and payment for this order. Alright. Now this account is one-to-many. You see that? It's one-to-many. You see an error there. We can tell by looking at this error. Okay. It says this account, any one of these accounts can have as many orders. You see that? Can have as many orders. Alright. And each transaction here in this diagram, a transaction is one-to-one relationship to the order. Alright. Because of the order receipt. Now in other ones, if I showed you here, an order can have many transactions in here. Alright. Let me show you the difference between this guy and this guy. Let me open up the, let's see, the transaction. I think it's a transaction. Order number, there you go. So this being, this order can have as many transactions as it wants. Alright. That's because in earlier version, we make partial payments. Each partial payment becomes a transaction. Alright. So meaning an order may or may not be paid in full in this scenario. Alright. But the order receipt, you know, when we began converting from CMS to POS, is directly tied to the order. Alright. And that's why you see this is one-to-one. Alright. But if you look at the transaction table, this is not a one-to-one. Okay, this is one-to-many. It's one-to-many. A parent, an order ID number is, I guess we could click that and make that and that. Oopsie, hold on just a second here. That and that. If I can select this guy there and that. Primary key there. So in a nutshell, those are the primary key, meaning each transaction must have an order number, and we call this composite ID. Alright, composite ID. And we should save that. Now I did not mark the second as a primary key, but you can see in the code that I make this guy a required. Let's see if I made that guy required. Looking at the transaction module here, I think I can show you. Transaction DB access. Let's see the save. See there? Oh, this customer. Okay, the customer. Alright, the customer is also. Let's go back to there. So we would have to tie. Oh yeah, so there are 3 of them. So in actuality, there's a number in here. I didn't put in here. The order number also has to be. Oh no, the order has to be in there as well. Each transaction. Alright. So that's how you create. I wonder why I didn't put that order. There must be a reason why I didn't put that in there. Alright. But you can see here is, we call that a composite ID, alright, which I could have easily marked this guy and that guy. Let me see, let's try this ID like that, alright, and save. Okay, I didn't do it in there, but I did in the code. If you notice, I did it in the code, and many of these DB access, you'll see how I done this. Alright, let's take a look at the order. Order. add order. Looking at add order. Somewhere down here. Order save. There you go. So these are all, if you see the ID, these are all composite there. You see? Those are all composite ID. Mean they are all primary. This is a primary, but these guys right here, well, actually we don't count the order number. Yeah, order number is just for the order number is the same as this guy. We use that because we can just, when we call a customer, we say, hey, I'm referring to this information to the order number so and so, but we don't call that. Yeah, but these three right here, or even these three right here are composite. All right, I think we added this account recently in this in this last model. We add this account because of the login. All right, so there you see how I tie things together. All right, that's how I tie things together. All right, but this is but if you're looking at this, you can see a first normalized form. All right, each one of these table are in their first normalized form. If you look at this one, these are non-repeated records because of the uniqueness here. All right. Let's see. Let's look at the activities. Same thing here. See, none of these guys are repeated. All right. We got an ID here to tell it what they are. Okay. This is each activity, and we got now the activity type. Here we use the relationship. All right, meaning each of these activity type can have as many activities as one. All right, by looking at this ID, and we done that, and I showed you that in the Excel sheet. All right, so anytime you pull information out from this guy, now you could have easily put in the name, like this guy, incoming call and description, all that. Okay, that would not be right. So that's why we pull these repeated items and use the ID to reference it. All right, so that's how we use ID, the primary key, to reference anything. All right, so this is the foreign key, that is primary key. Just remember, anytime you have one-to-many is you will have a parent-child relationship as demonstrated here. This activity. All right, so activity here. Each activity can have each activity type can have many activities. All right, and we call this. And again, here I could have. Let me remove that, and I could have done like this. All right, and that would become a composite ID. Okay, we'll call it composite ID. All right, and let's see if I did that in code. Activity DB access. Activity DB access. Let's go and look at the insert. Save. Yeah, I didn't do that, but this guy should have been in here, because we cannot add an activity without an activity type, because this is the parent. All right, so I didn't do it there. I can copy and save. So that's how you do. And as a programmer, you go back to your code and refactor, just like we just did. We call that refactoring, where you have to go back and identify your code on a daily basis. That's programming. That's what programmers do. That's what I do. I go back to each of my functions, even in 5 years past, and to see if there is anything I can improve on, or did I miss anything. Like this one, I missed that one. I should have said, hey, you should have this activity must have an activity type ID, because that is the parent. Alright, this is the primary key, that's a parent. When you tie these two together, it becomes composite key. Alright, and so there. Now if you mark this like this, alright, it will bark at you if you don't supply the activity type. Alright, so because that is a parent, that must exist. This is the child. Okay, a primary key, just remember, a primary key, yes, it says a primary, it is an ID, like your social security number, for instance. That is your ID. But you cannot exist without your parent, without somebody else creating you. Alright, so that's how that works. Alright, so that's in a nutshell, and that's the one-to-many relationship or one-to-one relationship. In the order and order payment, that is one-to-one relationship. So if I open up the order, let's take a look at one order. Let's look at this guy, because there are not that many. I'm going to pull out, yes, let's do this. That's one record. Now if I go to order and search for that order ID, I should only have one record. See there? And we call that a one-to-one relationship. Alright, that's one-to-one relationship. And if we come look at here, we can see that is one-to-one relationship. Alright, now one-to-many relationships. Alright, I'm gonna close the order, because that is one-to-one relationship. The one-to-many relationship, let's see, that is order ID. And if you look at this guy, that's the order ID. Well, this guy and this guy are the same. Remember I mentioned that when we created this guy, this is for system use, but this is for human use. You don't call your customer and say, hey, I'm looking at your order number 40TS, or that would go on. But this is human for reference. That way your customer can say, hey, I'm reference this phone call to the order or RD-00057. That's probably easier than using this grid. Alright. Plus, you wouldn't want to use this as your number, as your ID, for safety reason. In programming, safety is concerned, so all order or primary key must always be unique and hard to identify. All right. So, but anyways, the order, and looking at this guy, see this? That's one, and that's one, just one single item. All right. So that's how we identify one-to-one relationship. It does not have the second ID to reference to. Now, if you look at that one and the order detail, for instance, we said that is primary key. And again, this guy, I could have done this. Let me remove that guy, select, and select this guy. And I could have done that. That would become a composite key, because the order is the parent, the order detail or the children. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now, if I were to, let's open this guy up. Hold on, just a second here. Close. I'm going to use this ID right here. And see the, right here, order number, order. Okay, this one is referenced to the, yeah, that's fine, that's good. So here again, we reference it using an order ID, not a number, which is good. That's how we should always do. All right. So now, if I say I want to look for this guy, and you can see these are the children. All right. So the parent, children. So this order can have as many products or items as it wants. All right. And that's how we write one-to-many. One parent, many children. All right. And we can tell by this. Like I said, if you look at the design view, you can see this guy is the unique, that guy is repeat. The foreign key always or the parent, and the primary key always a uniqueness of children. All right. So that's how you identify if there are two keys like this. And if you combine them, because one has to, the order ID must exist. Must exist. You cannot create an order detail ID without the order ID, meaning the parent must exist in order to give rise to this child. Okay? So, and that's how we identify the save first. Save because so that is one-to-many relationship. All right. Where did it go? Yeah. So that is how you identify one-to-many relationship. It's very easy to identify one-to-many relationship. All right. As you saw when I created this order. All right. I create the orders first, and then I come around behind and say order items or order details. All right, and so that's how that happens. All right, so close that out. But that is one-to-many. All right, that's one-to-many. I'm gonna leave that right there. I want to look at the second module that we created. Product. Oh, okay. So here's the order that I created. I did this guy, and then product category. Here's the same way. I create a product category first, similar to the order, because I know that has to exist first before the products can happen. So I create the product category, and then I create a product. All right. Let's see what else. I want to look at the order report order right here. See order. Is that the one order invoice quad? That's probably the one. That's probably one. But anyways, so as you code, you have first create what needs to happen first, and that's your goal, is to identify what needs to happen first. All right. Now you ask, what about the many-to-many relationship? Well, yeah, that's that too. All right. So we create a composite relationship. Here you can see I call product category reference. All it is two IDs. That's it. That means one product can belong to as many categories as it wants, and vice versa. A category can have as many products as it wants. All right, and that was demonstrated through the let's run this guy, see what it is. Yeah. We did this one because and if you look at this product, you will not see product ID in here, product category ID in here. And if you look at this product category, you will not see a product ID in here. They're two or separate. Here is a first normalized form. Here's also a first normalized form. You don't see relationship in here or foreign key in this table, nor will you see it in here. All right, these two are entirely separated. All right, if we take a look at this guy, each one of these guy is unique. All right, each one of these guy is unique down to the every single column. That is unique, that is unique, that is unique, that is unique. All right, and there's no foreign key in here. That is the first normalized form. Similarly, this guy is the same way. If we look at the records, each one of these column is unique. There are no repeated. Well, unless you want to type in the same name, same product name. All right. Even this guy. All right. So this is the first normalized form. All right. But how do we relate this guy to this category relation reference? All right. Here is what ties them together. Here's what ties them together, and we call this many-to-many relationship. All right. A single product can belong to as many categories as it wants. Likewise, a single category can have as many products as it wants. Okay, and that's how we create many-to-many relationship. And if I'm going to close those out. And let's in here, if we run this guy and go to product, you see on the right hand side here, let's check this out. Here's another one, see there? So that product, that Jack's Mountain Tire Tube, belongs to this category, Mountain Tire Tube. And let's see what else. I'm looking for a check mark on the left. When you color this, you have to be, yeah. Alright, that's first one right there. So we got two. So this item, this product belongs to two items, two categories. We can add another category in there. Anytime we do the click here, we add it to the reference table, the product category reference. So if we uncheck this one, we remove from that table, and that's how we identify. All right. Similarly, if you go to here, if we go to here, each one of these categories, see how they are little categories, there are not that many here. But if we click on this guy, we can say, okay, this category, is there anything in here that we can see? Well, we can, oh, here's one. I just saw a check. Did it go too fast? There, right there. See there? If you move there in the access, if you move this too fast, and it cannot recolor too quickly. But so there, this category has one product. All right. You can add more products to this category. So we can go ahead and do this one. Okay, that guy also belongs to this category. That product also belongs to this category. As you can see, if every time we mark this guy, we add this guy to that product category reference table. And that's all it is. It does not touch either the product category table or the product category or product table. Alright, so that's how you reference many-to-many relationships. Okay, and here again, I'm going to show you the account. For example, this guy, Katrina. Alright, well, she can, Katrina can have as many roles as she wants. See, if we give it to her. And that again is many-to-many relationship. Alright, I'm gonna remove that out, and let's take a look at the oh, you know what, we didn't log in. That's why we didn't log in. If we logged in, we would have seen it. Okay, anyways, let's take a look at the right here, account row, similar to this product category reference. See, oh, that one I marked there. So that means An account can have many rows, and a row can have many accounts. All right, we call that many-to-many relationship. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to get too deep into it. Just just to understand that each table must be in their first normal form. And if you look at any one of these guys, they are in first normal form, or the normal form can have composite key. All right, can have like composite, like all the detail right here. These two are unique. The two you combine, these two are unique, and we call that normal form, first normal form. All right, and we call this composite key, and that's how you do it. So make sure when you build your database table, be sure to make your table a first normalized form. All right. Now, as far as the uniqueness of the ID, they can be composite like this. All right, and no more. More than that, you will have redundancy, and that's the key. We don't want redundancy in the table, and we call that relational database. All right. So that, in a nutshell, an information that you would learn from school, maybe 3 months. It's a short and sweet. If you were to go to school, all right, I think in these days it would take you 3 months to learn. So, but then again, just remember that make your table a first normalized form. All right, and your ID, the primary key, can be a single primary key or composite primary key. Like in this case, we call this composite key. All right, and then you have it for the data relation that you would learn in 3 months in school. All right, there you have it. Happy programming. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like, share, and hit that bell. And also comment below, and if you need help, inbox me. Thanks again.